can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports?
The government knows what is happening. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
We are so back, folks. President-elect Donald Trump just talked to the press at Mar-a-Lago. And before we discuss this any further, I want you guys to imagine how President Biden or even Vice President Kamala Harris would do in this kind of setting, okay? So picture this, with unscripted questions and live cameras all around. I'd bet that they would handle this a lot differently compared to Trump. We also have to address the fact that he's not in the White House just yet, although we do understand that everyone's waiting on every single word that he says, because the media understands that interviewing the current administration won't get them any answers. And speaking of which, some of these answers will probably be shocking, if not terrifying for many. But it's a breath of fresh air to have a president who actually takes questions that we need answers to. And one of the strengths of Trump is that he doesn't have much of a filter. He just pretty much tells it like it is.
In terms of your mass deportation plans, have you had any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, from where the Trinidad Aragua gang is now popping up?
They'll take them back.
They're going to take them back?
They're all taking them back, yep. And if they don't, they'll be met very harshly economically. Okay, they'll all take them back. You know, Venezuela and other countries were not behaving very well with us during my administration, and within 24 hours, they were behaving very well. They'll all take them back.
Now, if you ask Kamala Harris this question, she would just tell us that we can't celebrate Christmas if we deport illegal immigrants. Huh? How in the world does that make any sense? I mean, at least that's what she said years ago. Her boss would probably comment as to how these individuals are addressed. He apologized to Laken Riley's killer because he called him an illegal, even though he was an illegal immigrant. This is the weakness that we've seen in the White House for years now. The same kind of weakness that has failed to protect the people of this country from criminals. And it's obviously something that we're not going to see with Trump. Now, he was also asked about his picks for his cabinet and what he plans to do for those who oppose it. Watch.
Senators who oppose your nominees, your cabinet nominees, should they be primary?
If they are unreasonable, I'll give you a different answer, an answer that you'll be shocked to hear. If they're unreasonable, if they're opposing somebody for political reasons or stupid reasons, I would say has nothing to do with me. I would say they probably would be primaried. But if they're reasonable, fair, and really disagree with something or somebody, I can see that happening. But I do believe that if they're I think we have great people. I think we have a great group of people. Pam has been unbelievably received. You take a look, Pam Bondi. So many have been just unbelievably received. I think Pete Hegseth is making tremendous strides over the last week. He's going to be great. Look, he went to Princeton, he went to Harvard, he was a great student there, but he really was, from the first day I met him, all he wanted to talk about was military. He's just a military guy.
One pick that he's getting a lot of pushback on is RFK Jr., with questions surrounding vaccines and how RFK plans on dealing with it in the future. Mainstream media is obsessed with RFK Jr. at the moment, given that he's been, let's just say, a wild card.
Two quick questions. First, on vaccines, do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccines?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. We're going to find out a lot. We're doing two things. We're going to have tremendous cost savings will come out of this. That's a minimum. And we're also going to have, and I think, very serious discussions about certain things, whether it's pesticides. Europe doesn't use pesticides, and yet they have a better mortality rate than we do. They don't use pesticides. In fact, they use it as an excuse not to take our farm product. We spend billions and billions of dollars on pesticides, and something bad's happening. Again, you take a look at autism today versus 20, 25 years ago, it's like not even believable. So we're going to have reports. No, nothing's going to happen very quickly.
So this doesn't match well with the narrative that some within mainstream media have declared, warning us that RFK Jr. will be more of a threat to us and these drugs. And while he's facing a little bit of opposition with some of his cabinet picks, it's pretty clear that the majority wants to play ball. Now, as you guys can remember, there was a clear hate for Donald Trump back in 2016.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much better.
if I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. If I may,
That's
I was
enough.
going to ask one of the other folks. have
That's
had-
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President,
me. That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
that you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
But I guess the 4 years under President Biden and Kamala Harris has woken people up that maybe Trump isn't so bad after all.
This is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
So at this point, President-elect Trump has now probably answered more questions in about an hour compared to 4 years under Biden, something that the media probably enjoys. But not everybody's happy. ABC News, as you guys might remember, is set to pay out $15 million to the president-elect after George Stephanopoulos kept attacking him on air, which is raising a lot of alarms within circles of journalists who have severe Trump derangement syndrome. Somebody who has a severe case of TDS is Jim Acosta.
Donald Trump has said a lot of things about people, places, you name it, that have been false and so on. And it just strikes me as a bit rich that, he's going to be the recipient, or his presidential foundation is going to be a recipient of this kind of large settlement. And I have to ask you whether or not you think there's just going to be a chilling effect on the news industry just as he is coming into office because of this. I mean, I suppose it's almost a rhetorical question because the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Media lawyers are worried about this. They're preparing for it. They are preparing their newsrooms for it with the expectation of more lawsuits, more leak investigations, more subpoenas in the months and years to come.
Now, the one thing that we as viewers expect from these journalists is truth. And for them to try and spin this into a different narrative is just on brand for guys like Jim Acosta. But most of these news outlets are now thinking about changing their reporting style. They can't do the same thing that they've been doing for the past 10 years because that's led to distrust within the public, and it's clearly affecting their views, especially with the power of social media to fact check them faster than they can apologize for the lies that they've told. It kind of explains why this press conference was so much more relaxed compared to most of his previous ones in the White House, which could be good news for the incoming administration. Now, guys, on that note, I want to briefly talk about Kamala Harris. I know, you don't want to hear about Kamala Harris, but you would think that she would want to shy away from the spotlight at this point, right? But no, that's not happening. Now, I discussed the Vice President Kamala Harris's political future in a previous live stream, something that you definitely want to watch. And I can't believe that she's still pursuing politics at this point. As always, appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.